I lost fat and it made my life worse, not better. And I know this sounds similar to a person who says money doesn't make you happy, but let me talk about my story so that maybe you can understand and relate it to yours. You see, I was kind of bullied into losing weight, which can be a little bit different to wanting to lose weight, although if you think back far enough, when you were younger, your body probably wasn't that much of an issue because you didn't realise. When you started to realise was when somebody else told you it was an issue, whether that be a family member, a parent, or someone in school like me. I was relentlessly bullied for being overweight. One specific moment I remember when I was coming home on a school bus, one of the big guys from the back of the bus came up and sat beside me, and at that moment I was like, what the fuck is he doing here? When he sat down in a way that made it impossible for me to be able to escape or get away. Legs stretched out in front, and then he turned and looked at me and called me fat. Now that might not sound like a huge issue, but here's where it gets worse. Bus journey home was an hour and a half. He didn't just call me fat once, he called me fat for an entire hour of that journey. Non-stop. You are a fat cunt, you are a fat cunt, you are a fat cunt. Talking about my belly, talking about different areas of my body, and I've never felt so low down as a person. So if anybody knows anything about weight stigma, I'd put myself pretty high up on that list. It was that bad that I decided to step off the bus a half an hour before the journey finished. Now bearing in mind that was a half an hour drive. I walked that distance home crying, upset, to be quite frank, feeling so low about myself that I didn't even want to be around anymore. And that's the first time my weight became apparent as an issue. And so that's why I say I was bullied into losing weight. It wasn't something that I initially wanted to do. And some people listening to this video might be like, well, it worked out well because you've lost weight. But being bullied into weight wasn't where I lost weight and kept it off. It was actually where I consistently lost and put it back on. And you might be struggling with the same thing. So I remember instantly when I got back home, after I stopped crying, I was dead set on my weight never being an issue ever again. In those few moments before I went to sleep, I blamed it for everything bad that had ever happened in my life. When I woke up in the morning, for some reason, it felt like my blankets weighed about 3 tons when I woke up, and I'll never forget it. I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to move, and now looking back, I know exactly why. And it's because I'd beat myself up so much that I barely even had the confidence to put my 2 feet on the ground again. Actually, the opposite effect to what the guy bullying me thought he was doing. He thought he was helping me out, thought he was doing me a favour, thought he was fat shaming me into change. Instead, he fat shamed me in not being able to even leave my bed. Being fat never once gave me the confidence to get up and go to the gym, to ask for questions about nutrition or reach out for help. It actually did quite the opposite. First thing that I wanted to do about it was actually hide the fact I was eating food. I didn't want anybody else to see it. And not only that, because I felt so shit about myself, I proceeded to eat more because that was the only thing in my life that gave me comfort. The reason I'd gained weight in the first place, which the guy on the bus saw as laziness or as something that made me less than, was actually because my mum and dad had gone through a divorce and I struggled to deal with the emotions in any other way than burying them in food to help me feel better. And so if we go back to that moment, it's actually quite sad because I truly believe if that person knew who was sat beside me, saw me in a different light of not lazy, but rather for what was actually going on, maybe he wouldn't have called me fat. There was one moment in where my life changed, and I always talk about this. My brother walked into my room, he didn't call me fat, he didn't call me lazy, but rather he just turned to me and said, do you want to go to the gym? It'll be cool to go together, let's get strong as fuck. And I don't know if any of you have an older brother, but one of the first things that you do when you have an older brother is look up to them and copy them with absolutely everything that they do. And so when I seen him come in and support me and uplift me rather than put me down, it was the first moment that changed my life and instilled confidence in myself, because if my brother wanted me there, maybe other people wouldn't mind if I was there either. But saying that fact didn't really solve the problems that I'd been hit with initially, of being called fat and then feeling less than everybody else. It made doing new exercises in the gym difficult because I didn't want to do them wrong, because there was another opportunity for me to see myself or somebody else to see me as a piece of shit, which happened on the bus. I remember through the process of starting the gym, I started to lose weight. But the weight I lost was never good enough, because that's all I was ever told. And in opportunities where I'd done something great, I would always look at the things that I didn't do or things that weren't great, or look at it in a way that could knock me down a peg or two, because that's all that had ever been done. And that continued the whole way from 130 kilos to 70. I remember my mum serving me out a plate of dinner, vegetables, rice, gravy, chicken, and I scraped everything off apart from half a chicken breast, because I thought the next lowest number was going to give me that happiness that I've been seeking the whole entire time. And before that number was 75 kilos, but that didn't give me anything. Before that number was 80 kg. When I just get there, I'll be happy. And you can think of this because you have achieved things that you said would make you happy, and you're still here chasing more. Oh, when I do this, I'll be fine. Or when I get this done, or when I get my house. Or the pursuit of happiness is in fact the absence of happiness. If you're constantly chasing something, you don't have it. And that was another big learning lesson for me in my journey, because when I got to 70 kilos and I couldn't go down any further without physically making myself sick, I knew something needed to change. And the only thing that changed was the way that I looked at myself. And I've done that through years of therapy, and it took me regaining weight first to learn that, because I learned when I gained a kilo, it wasn't the end of the world, because I could run 5 kilometers faster, or I could lift a heavier weight, or deadlift 200 kg, have a kickboxing fight and win. All of these things I did while I was heavier than the lower scale weight number I said would make me happy, but yet all of those things made me happier than any scale weight ever could. And I achieved things before I figured this out. I just never let them do that for me. I stopped training to change my body. A lot of you guys probably have the same thoughts. It's not actually changing your body, it's to look like somebody else. I want to look like that person in the magazine or that person on Instagram. And I'm sorry to let you know you're never going to look like them because you're different. When I figured that out too, it blew my mind because I am me and there's things that are better about me than other people too. And I don't want to change those. So what I started to look into is the things that I could do, my body could do. My body could get through a shit and dark time when somebody called me fat for an hour on the bus. And if I can do that, I can get up and go to the gym. And if I get up and go to the gym, I can lift heavier in the gym. And if I can lift heavier in the gym, I can stand up for myself. And if I can have a boxing fight against someone who's trying to kill me, well then nothing in life is that scary. And I started with the smallest thing. I remember at first I didn't even want to have a shower because that involved taking my t-shirt off. That was the first battle I had. But if I could do that, I could walk outside with a t-shirt on. And through these slow battles, I've built my confidence and become a better person. It's not from any scale weight loss. And by becoming a better person, in more control of my emotions and the hard things that I face, so I no longer need to turn to food. I understand that moving my body is going to help with a lot more than just the calories burned or how much fat I'm going to lose. It makes me feel good. It makes me more capable of things. And that's why I train, exercise, and feed my body now. You see, being overweight is often a visual representation of a coping mechanism. The thing is, there's actually worse coping mechanisms than food as well. But the damage they cause aren't as visible. Like sometimes smoking, drink, drugs. And although being overweight can be a crippling visual representation because other people point it out to you all the time or it's the only thing people throw at you in an argument, just know that it has served a purpose. It has helped you through something or helped you deal with something hard, and without it you probably wouldn't be here, or you'd just rely on something more dangerous or worse than food. And maybe it being so obvious isn't a bad thing because at some point it's going to force you to look and deal with the tough emotions rather than avoid them. And so with this video, I don't like just making videos and yapping on about things. I like people to take away something. And so the question I want you to ask is, how is this the best thing that's ever happened to me? And I know that might be a stupid question or it might be hard, but think about it for a second. Being overweight and struggling with my weight was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me look at what was going on in my head or why I never felt good enough, or look at different ways to deal with my emotion. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me because it's something that I can rely on now as experience to help more of you guys and make a difference in this world. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me because it makes me more empathetic and understanding for people in the same situation. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me because although it's hard now, I've proven to myself I can do hard things. And although sometimes navigating fat loss or weight loss can feel like being stuck in a dark room, if you keep taking a step forward, feeling your hand along the wall, eventually you'll find a light switch. And when you turn it on, you might have some hard things to face, like understanding why you don't feel good enough, why you feel shit, why you've been using food to deal with your emotions or hard things. But I can promise you, once you face them with the light on, it's a lot better for you than being in that dark room and not seeing them at all.